Are you flipping my flapjacks, guys? We have a hold in the trade war. Yes, we do. A pause in the trade war. We got to talk about some big news that has come out that is going to make the markets probably go up very big tomorrow, all right? This news is also big for a few stocks in particular out there we got to get into. A lot to get into in this video. Let's just get into it, guys. US President Donald Trump and Chinese President Xi Jinping agreed to keep their trade war from escalating with a promise to halt the imposition of new tariffs for 90 days as the world's two largest economies negotiate a lasting agreement. The truce between the US and China emerged after a highly anticipated dinner Saturday night between Trump and Xi on the sidelines of the group of the 20 summit in Argentina. The leaders agreed to a pause from the new introduction of tariffs that were supposed to go to 25% starting on January 1st, all right? Both sides believe that the principled agreement reached between the two presidents has effectively prevented the further expansion of economic frictions between the two countries. The White House called this meeting highly successful, saying the U.S. will leave existing tariffs on $200 billion of Chinese goods at 10% and refrain from raising that rate to 25% as planned on January 1st. In exchange, the U.S. wants an immediate start to talks on Trump's biggest complaints about the Chinese trade practices: intellectual property theft, which we know is a big issue, non-tariff barriers, and forced technology transfer. After 90 days, if there's no progress on structural reform, the U.S. will raise those tariffs to 25%. White House Press Secretary Sarah Huckabee Sanders said in a statement. China also agreed to boost its purchases of agricultural and industrial goods to reduce its trade imbalance with the United States of America. Now, what did Trump have to say about this? He says it's an incredible deal. If it goes down, certainly, if it happens, it goes down as one of the biggest deals ever made, Trump told reporters in Air Force Ones. He says, quote, China right now has major trade barriers, their major tariffs, and also major non-tariff barriers, which are brutal. China will be getting rid of many of them, okay? Now, there's a few things to get into it here. First off, this is what the market needing as a sigh of relief. I talked about this last week. Like, we needed a little sigh of relief. Like, the market in general, people just needed some type of like agreement, something like maybe like a put on pause, a little more positive commentary. The market's needing that. Now, second thing, this doesn't mean like the markets are going to be off and away as far as like now we're just clear, because there still hasn't been no major agreement reached in the tariffs, okay? This is a pause on it. This is saying we're not taking it to 25%. We'll leave it at 10% from now. But basically there's 3 months. A lot of progress has to be made in the next 3 months. If that progress isn't made, it's going to 25%, okay? So it's not like we're clear as of right now, but at least as far as the markets needing a sigh of relief, this was big, okay? Now, earlier this week, about 6 days ago to be exact, there was a report that came out that President Trump said it was highly unlikely that the U.S. would delay the scheduled tariffs. Highly unlikely, and that language really freaked out the markets in a big way. Language like that is obviously very negative. Now, I got to give some people a lot of credit who were in the comments. A few people are like, well, Trump's probably just doing that as a negotiation tactic to freak the Chinese out as, oh yeah, there's probably not going to be anything that happens or whatnot. And I got to say, those people were probably right. As the art of the deal right there, right? Now, as far as futures go, futures are looking pretty positive as of right now. The Dow is up around 428 points. The S&P 500 is up about 1.5%, and the Nasdaq's up about 1.8% as of now. Now, obviously, that could get even better as we get closer and closer into the trading day and Monday. We'll have to see what happens. So maybe we can actually get a Santa Claus rally now at this point. If you didn't already know, basically, generally speaking, the markets are very strong in the month of December. December is generally a very good month for the market. So, but a lot of people are thinking maybe we couldn't have that. And honestly, if there wasn't any type of relaxation in the word choice and there wasn't some type of pause on the tariffs, we probably would have honestly had a very bad December. But now that there's a pause there and there could maybe be some good news coming, later in the year about an actual resolution of all this, Now that that has happened, we're in a position where we could possibly have an actual Santa Claus rally, all right? Now, Trump says that China is now open to possibly the Qualcomm NXP deal, all right? But here's the thing, Qualcomm's already agreed to pay the $2 billion. They already paid that $2 billion to NXP to basically close out that deal. That was a massive deal that was announced in 2016. China ended up not allowing it. It took forever for it to happen. If you look at Qualcomm's stock chart there, you know, a lot of investors got super excited after that news came out and Qualcomm stock started going up and up and up. And then all of a sudden, slowly but surely, people realized, man, that deal might not go through. Investors started to flood out of that stock, and it's kind of just been a lost stock for several years now because of that whole situation. Now, as far as the $2 billion Qualcomm had to pay NXP for the deal not going through, Qualcomm could still possibly get that money back if they decide on a deal. Like, you know, Qualcomm could put in the contract something like, hey, you know, we want that $2 billion back, or that $2 billion we paid you earlier this year is going to go toward the price of the purchase, or it's going to be $2 billion less or something like that. That's if Qualcomm even wants to do that. They might have just completely moved on from that situation. They might not even want that deal at the end of the day. We'll have to see what happens there. Qualcomm's getting very interesting, okay? So Qualcomm, I mean, this is good news around, you know, possibility if they did want to, you know, possibly purchase NXPI again, they could maybe do that. But we're looking at a stock that has a forward P of 12 right now, and a lot of the semiconductor stocks are a deal right now, but Qualcomm, they're possibly going to be the biggest player in 5G out there, okay? Especially in the cellular industry. Like, they're just going to be absolutely massive. They are going to benefit in a massive, massive way from 5G. And then just earlier this week, the Qualcomm CEO came out and said, we're on the doorstep of a resolution with Apple. The CEO adds that Qualcomm would love to work with Apple again, especially on 5G. That is really, really big news there, guys. If Qualcomm could get this Apple situation, which Apple and them have been in lawsuits and going back and forth for several years now, if they could get all that cleared up and then actually get a relationship built with Apple again, because we know as of right now, Apple hasn't wanted to do any business with Qualcomm. Apple completely cut Qualcomm out of all their phones, all their latest releases over the past year. They completely cut them out. That's a massive, massive loss for Qualcomm, and Qualcomm's a stock that I like. I like a lot about Qualcomm. I like almost everything about that company, except for the fact that if you don't have Apple as your customer, you have a very limited amount of growth if you don't have Apple as your customer, right? So the fact that Qualcomm could maybe be on the doorstep of getting a deal done here, and then maybe if they wanted to go ahead and do the NXPI deal and they could get that agreed, you know, where the Chinese government could allow it, and then NXPI would actually want to do the deal. If they could get that done, these are two big growth vectors, and then you have 5G on top of that. So Qualcomm's starting to get very, very interesting. That's a stock that maybe a lot of trader momentum will actually start moving in. Now, as far as a trade deal, once again, this is an exciting thing here in the short term, but we still got to get something concrete done for the long term. If nothing comes, let's say nothing comes over the next month or 2 months, any big news that, hey, we're getting close to an actual deal or something like that on the tariffs, look for the markets to start trading down big again in another month or two, okay? We've got to start hearing something a month from now, or maybe 2 months from now, maybe shortly after New Year's, on hey, there's actually some good progress being made here on the front, and we're not going to go ahead with that 25% tariff. But the market's going to start getting real scared in you know, January, February, if all of a sudden we haven't heard anything about, you know, there's going to be an agreement done, or we're getting close to agreement, and all of a sudden you start getting into March, and all of a sudden it's like, wait a minute, March 31st, the tariffs are going to 25% if no deal is done. So as far as the markets go, short term, we should get a nice pop here, and maybe we get a Santa Claus rally. But from a long-term perspective, we still got to get a deal done there, and it's not done as of yet, guys. I would love to hear your opinion on this in that comment section. Hit a thumbs up if you enjoyed today's video. 2 videos for you guys today in one day. I'm just going to be knocking out of the ballpark the next few weeks. I gotta get my content game back up, guys. That conference, you know, I had to save my voice for it, but now we got a lot of content coming for you. Thank you for watching, and have a great day.